Hi guys! Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm going to explain my story with my weight loss journey in my life when it comes to like my weight and the things that I have gone through. Okay? And I'm gonna have to keep looking down because I kind of made points because I would go off on a tangent and lose track of what I was talking about. So, a little bit about my health history. So, I have never been a skinny person. If you knew me in elementary school, I probably wore a lot of like bigger and baggier clothes, but I have never been skinny. I've always been a little bit slightly on the heavier side of like maybe your average weight. I wouldn't say that I was overweight as a child. I think that I was still on the healthy side for it, but I was very aware of what I was doing. And to give you an example of how aware I was or when I started my whole like issues with my weight and my whole body complex, that started as early as I remember being in grade 1. So I would have been 6 years old, and I remember somebody making a comment about me being a little bit chubby and maybe I should scale back on the cookies. And as harmless as that may have seemed to somebody else making that comment, that comment, I took that to heart and I actually stopped eating cookies. And then I stopped eating a whole lot of other foods. So when I was 6, I was actually trying to diet because of what somebody said to me. So that is how strong and powerful your words can be. Okay. Anyways, so that was when I was 6. I have struggled with weight gain all through my childhood. So it's something that I've thought about for my entire life since I was 6 years old when I first heard that comment. When I was a teenager, I experimented with eating whatever I wanted, and lots of desserts and stuff, and then trying to throw up afterwards. And I couldn't commit to this, so I wouldn't consider myself somebody who was bulimic because it's not something that I could have continued to do like for a long time, but it's something that I tried as an effort to lose weight. It's just the whole process was so gross for me that I couldn't do it. So I don't consider myself bulimic because I tried it once or twice, and I didn't do it and I didn't succeed at losing weight or anything. But just to show you the extremes as a child and a preteen that I was trying to go through to lose weight. Those are some of the things that I experienced personally. I had my first child when I was 18. I'm just getting over a cold, so I have cough candy right now. Lovely essential oil cough candy. So when I was 18, I got pregnant with my firstborn, and I gained 60 pounds with my first child because when I got pregnant, I let everything go. My whole thinking was, I'm eating for 2. What nobody really explained to me is that really I was eating for me and one tiny, tiny little being. That's what the 2 is. So when I had that mindset that I was eating for 2, then I was actually eating like 2 meals. And then I indulged a lot in the sweets and such. So, I mean, the 60 pounds was a well-deserved weight gain. And it wasn't mostly baby, unfortunately, for me. So, after that 60-pound weight gain, I struggled quite a bit after I had my son with losing weight. And it took me 4 years to get to my pre-pregnancy weight, which was in my healthy BMI range. And the only way that I was actually able to achieve that was being, at the time I was working as a figure skating coach. And I was also figure skating myself. So every day I was active, usually for at least 2 hours a day, with my own skating and then coaching and then some, right? And literally every day, like I did stuff Monday or Sunday to Saturday. So I didn't have 1 or 2 days off. I was busy every day physically doing stuff. And that's when I hit my healthy body weight. That, because that was my job, I could achieve that then. When I found my lovely husband and got married, I got a desk job and I gained weight. Then when I had my second baby, I put on 60 pounds again with my pregnancy. Hold on one second. After I had my second baby, post-pregnancy, I tried Booty Camp Fitness. You may have heard of it. I used to attend the classes in Newmarket, and they were actually a lot of fun. I really loved doing them. And I did notice like a significant change in my body and my weight and stuff, but it's just not something that I felt I could commit to. I'm not really a huge fan of working out or doing squats. I mean, I like doing physical things, but I don't like, I don't know, the repetitiveness of some exercises, let's say. So after my maternity leave, I returned to my desk job and I gained weight again because I was sitting at my desk all day. Then I got pregnant, and I was pregnant with my third baby. And at that time, I decided that I would see a naturopath and try and take a more holistic approach to my lifestyle, because I was struggling a lot with having weight gain issues. I was having some digestive issues, and so I was trying to take a healthier approach to my pregnancy. So my naturopath put me on a really restricted, like a diet to try and pick out the things that I was allergic to and inflamed for with and we did a lot of different changes. And I wasn't actually gaining weight in that pregnancy. And that was the first time, and I would say my entire life, that I actually felt really healthy and amazing. And I worked with midwives and had not a normal like baby checkups and stuff. Unfortunately, while my body was being healthy and doing awesome, my baby died. And I gave birth to a little boy when I was 19 weeks pregnant. So I immediately fell into a really deep depression because losing a baby is probably one of the hardest things that anybody will ever go through. And I was very much wanting to get right back to being pregnant. But I also immediately stopped doing all of my naturopathic stuff, all of the efforts that I had put forward to being as healthy as I was at that point and as amazing as I felt. Because of that loss, I gave up all of that and decided that the only thing I wanted was to be pregnant again with another baby and to get back to where I'd left off, so I didn't have to live in this world of a deep depression and grief, because it was like people were scared to talk to me. And although I was happy to talk about my baby and a little bit sad about what happened, people were more weirded out by it than I was. So I wanted to get back to having another baby so that I had more to talk about than the baby I had lost. And I just wanted to be where I had left off, because I should have already been having a baby. So it took me a month to get pregnant, and I got pregnant with my son Micah. And this time, because I threw all of that detoxing and natural health stuff out the window, and I thought to myself, I'm just going to do whatever it takes. Like, if my body is telling me I need to eat cheese bagels, then I'm going to eat cheese bagels. And so I just ate everything and anything that I felt like doing. I was put on bed rest a lot. I had really low blood pressure and really low iron from the baby that I had lost. And I suffered a lot of complications with bleeding at the beginning of my pregnancy, so that for the whole first, I would say, almost 3 months while I was pregnant with my son Micah, the entire time I thought I was just going to lose him anyways. But lucky for us, and we prayed a lot, so I truly believe that God was there for us this time. I think God's there for us all the time, but He was really there for us this time. We did have our baby, but not without a cost. So I gained 80 pounds, and I hit an all-time high weight of 230 pounds. And I remember standing at work between two counters that came together like this and putting my hands down like I was going to lift my weight up and sit on the counters and not being able to lift my own body weight. And that was the first time that it had ever sunk into me that I am very, very overweight. And although I was pregnant, and maybe I could justify about 30 of those pounds to a baby, I couldn't justify, the other 70 excessive pounds that I was holding on to. So at the end of my pregnancy, I got very sick, and I ended up with breathing problems. I had respiratory issues like an asthma at the time, or so they believe I did. And while I was in the hospital, I was put on bed rest, and they put me on prednisone, and prednisone is a medication that makes you gain a lot of weight. It's also known for ruining your blood sugar issues and causing things like diabetes, and there are people who have been on prednisone that never again are able to lose weight ever again. So finally I gave birth to a healthy baby boy who was 3 weeks early, but fully developed. He was a good 8 pounds and 15.5 ounces. He was adorable. And immediately after giving birth, I lost 40 pounds, which was great. But I still kind of stayed around like 190 pound range all through my postpartum period until I went back to work. So for about 2 years after I had my fourth son, who is my third live son, so that would be Micah, I basically stayed about 190 pounds, which is a bit excessive. But I wasn't trying to lose weight. I didn't even care at that point. I had enrolled in school, so I was doing a paralegal program, and there was a lot of pizza eating that was going on because I was at school and I was busy and I had to eat out dinner, and my goal at the time was just to get through school and get licensed and become a paralegal. So what I did try to do, though, was work with my doctor and a naturopath. And when my doctor tried to put me on a prescription to lose weight, I'm not a fan of pharmaceuticals, if you know me. If my doctor prescribes something, I still think about whether I really want to take it, and oftentimes I'll either throw it out. And I've come to a point in my life where I actually only ever see a doctor if it's for like a healthy checkup, or the very, very rare occasion that I'm so sick that I feel like I need to see a doctor. I will tell you that I have been to see a doctor in 2 years. Once. I went because I had a really bad chest infection at Christmas shortly after we moved here to Innisfil, and I got really sick. So I don't see doctors a lot, and honestly I've been so healthy since I don't really need to. Anyway, so after I had Micah and I completed all my education stuff, I returned to work. I stopped eating out and started getting a little bit better with my food, and I lost 10 pounds automatically. I worked for about a year, and then I got very ill. So what was happening was I experienced a whole lot of digestive issues, and so I was having really embarrassing accidents at work, and I couldn't stay at work, and I had to keep leaving to go home early. And then I had this excruciating pain in between like my rib cage sort of and a little bit underneath it, so almost like where your gallbladder would be. But I don't have a gallbladder. I had my gallbladder removed in my second pregnancy because I had digestive issues then, and my gallbladder was removed. And it was explained to me when my gallbladder was removed that people struggle with weight and that I'll probably never get down to a normal or a healthy body weight because I don't have the gallbladder to break down the fats anymore. So when I became very ill, I went off work, and my doctor sent me for several tests. I went for MRIs, I went for ultrasounds. Finally, he sent me to GI specialists. I went to 3 of them. I had 3 colonoscopies done. I had a gastroscopy done. And all of my tests were coming back negative. The only thing that one of the GI specialists told me is that I'm probably celiac, but they can't test for it because I was already eating a gluten-free diet. And so they just said to me that I have a sort of like an unproved celiac, but they're going to assume for health purposes that I am celiac. So when you hear me say I'm celiac, it's because a GI specialist told me that based on my circumstances, in medical terminology, I'm considered celiac. So our whole life took a really negative turn. And at this point, I had just finished being licensed as a paralegal. I got a job promotion, and I was making more money and working a better job that was more legally related. And my whole world just kind of crumbled. I got sick, and my body shut down. And my digestion wasn't working. And eventually my doctor stopped believing me that something was wrong. About 6 months in, he decided that it was all in my head. And so he sent me to the hospital to go talk to a psychiatrist. And so I went in and I talked to the psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist, they do their assessments and stuff. And he says, I'm pretty much probably like a normal amount of crazy. So sent me back for 2 more counseling sessions. And basically what they said was they could see that I was physiologically having symptoms. So there was something actually physically wrong for me. They sent me back to my doctor to ask to see an endocrinologist, an immunologist, and a few other things. I'm not 100% sure if those are the same things, but those are the terms that that the psychiatrist used, and said that counseling wouldn't help me because my sickness was not in my head. And counseling wasn't going to help me anyways because I'm not crazy enough to really need it. So that normal amount of crazy that I am, just like everybody else, I have my issues, so do you. So we had to sell our house. We sold our first home. The home that we got married and we got our first home. And we brought up 2 of our children from birth in that home. And we loved our home. And we didn't want to leave it. We had worked 7 years at finishing it and renovating it. And everything in our life just crashed. So we left. We had to leave. We had no other choice. So we sold our home, and we moved to Innisfil. And we set up our lives around being a 1-income family. My doctor refused to keep me off on a sick leave and basically kept telling me that it was all in my head, so I had to get rid of my family doctor because he wasn't helping me anymore. And I had to go on a wait list to find a family doctor, so I had no more health care, and I was still very sick. And we just built our whole lives around being able to live off of my husband's income. And eventually my employer, without doctor's notes, they weren't willing to hold on to my job. So they tried to force me to go back, but I was still in a very sick state, so I couldn't actually commit to coming back. So I actually quit my job and asked for a good referral, and I did it at the time that I did so that I would get a positive referral, because there would have been no other time that I probably would have been able to achieve that, and I didn't want to have to go through a process of legal fights and stuff that I first couldn't afford help to go through. And second, I just didn't have the energy in me. I was so sick that I couldn't take care of my own body, my own house, my own kids, and now I've moved north and I've got no one to help me. So while we were here, I switched to a vegan diet because I had done a lot of studies about what happens when we're taking in fat and we don't have a gallbladder to digest it. And then first I started as a vegetarian, so I left like all my dairy products in there, and then I switched to vegan eventually. So I did little steps, and that seems to help things a little bit, but I still had this excruciating pain. It wasn't there all day anymore. I had some relief, but it wasn't permanent. And so a friend from my husband's university days connected with me on Facebook and sent me these little samplers of essential oils. And I was a little bit weirded out by it at first because I thought, well, what the heck's an oil going to do? Because I've been already working with doctors. At one point I'd gone to a naturopath, and it just felt like nobody could give me like a clear answer of what was wrong, or any, long-term relief. I got temporary bouts of relief, but nothing that was significant enough to allow me to return to everyday tasks of just taking care of myself, let alone being able to leave the house and work or do anything productive. So she sends me these little oils, and I use the oils, and I got relief. And I was quite shocked because the relief that I got, I would compare to being on a morphine drip in Emerge. And I had been on a morphine drip in Emerge during all of my sickness at one point because I was in there in so much excruciating pain. One of the doctors was kind enough, if you will, to offer me some sort of respite from all of the things that I was going through. So I actually got relief for a few hours, and then I thought, this is a little bit crazy. I need to give this like a fair chance and get to know what's happening. And so I gave it a break for a little bit, and my pain came back. And so I started taking the essential oils again. I just rubbed them on the area that was having pain, and my pain relief is gone again. So now I was convinced, okay, essential oils actually work. How interesting is that? So after that, it became, a big journey about what I'm going to do, how, what's with this company. So I was introduced to doTERRA as a company, but I wasn't willing to commit to join. And I didn't want to join because I was a little bit uncomfortable with the idea that it was a network marketing company. And I wasn't 100% convinced that their brand was going to beat out everybody else. I still trusted my local health shops. And so, right up to the point that I got pregnant, I was trying out different things to see how I would get the relief. And I stretched out my tiny little sample over several months. So I was really lucky that I was able to do that. But I think while I was stretching out that sample, I think my body began to heal. And then I got pregnant again. And this was quite unplanned. I got pregnant with my daughter in March of 2014. So this was, I don't know, maybe 6 months after we moved to Innisfil. We moved into a 3-bedroom home. We already have 2 boys in one room together and a teenager in his own room. And now we've got to fit a girl into the mix. How in the world are we going to do that? In my pregnancy, at the beginning, I tried to reintroduce meat and wheat because I felt that maybe the baby might need that body balance. And, once or twice, the meat was doing okay. And by the 3rd time, I was back to being in pain and having all kinds of issues. So meat was not an option. And I tried the same thing with the wheat. And right away the wheat showed me that it wasn't going to be an option either. So I did my entire pregnancy. The only thing I did add into and I made the exception for was goat cheese. So I did actually supplement with goat cheese a lot. Till the very end when I started having issues with it. So through my entire pregnancy, I was a celiac vegan, or on a plant-based diet, if you will. And I gained maybe about 20 pounds. And then right after I had Natalia, within a week, I lost 15 pounds. It just kind of fell off. So that part was really nice. I felt like my pregnancy with the whole weight gain and weight loss with her was so natural. And the thing is, when I was pregnant with her, I was home, but I ran around cleaning and I ran around taking care of kids. And when the kids went back to school, I started napping a little bit, and then Micah, we took him out of JK right near the beginning of the year because we had some problems with the administration of the school. But, so I was busy all day. I was moving around. I wasn't sitting at a desk all day. And so my weight gain was only around 20 pounds. And trust me, I was already holding on to lots of weight from other kids. That 20 pounds was more than sufficient. Through my entire pregnancy, I played around with other brands of essential oils. And I saved my little sample vials of doTERRA. And after I gave birth to my baby, Natalia, she was the fussiest baby I have ever met. She cries nonstop, right from birth. The first 2 hours of her life, all she did was cry. So that was really hard because we weren't really in a position to be having a baby again. We don't have the house for it. We definitely didn't have the finances. We were a one-income family. And I was still, in a health recovery, although I was in a much better state than I was 6 months before. I wouldn't have considered my body still healed from all of the sickness that I had experienced for almost a full year before that. And then I had this fussy little girl who just cried and never slept. I swear, she did not sleep. So I tried to play around with other oils, but I wasn't having much luck. And finally, at the end of April of 2016, so this year, I went online and I signed up for my membership, and I ordered my first pack of my own essential oils. And they came in. And right away, I started using things to help my daughter sleep. I started using things to help with my digestion and clean up my life. I started learning all about doTERRA and the things that they have to offer. And this whole community opened up. This whole world-wide community of natural health professionals, of chiropractors and doctors and naturopaths and homeopaths and holistic nutritionists and yogis and you name it. They're in this company. And this wealth of like free information that I would have paid, $120 a visit at my naturopath to get, or $60 to $90 for a session with a holistic nutritionist, I was basically getting for free by joining this doTERRA community. So I decided at that point that I would start building a business doing doTERRA. And at first I had gotten into it because my husband and I had been discussing for quite some time now how I'm going to start contributing to the finances and how I'm going to make an income. And I'm very passionate about natural health and essential oils and helping people. But after learning more about the community that's there and the amazingness of the company and the things that it has to offer, I have to say it opened my eyes a lot more, and I am so happy that I made the decision to do this as a business. So what happened is starting in May, when I finally got my, was it May? Oh, yes it was. In May, when I finally got my essential oils, I started learning how to use them, and then every month I was ordering things. And one of the first things that I focused in on was balancing my hormones. So my upline, who is a holistic nutritionist, we had a wellness consult when my oils came in. And she made mention to the fact that many women, after they've had babies, have this thing called adrenal stress. And it's basically like a hormone imbalance. If you want to know more about what adrenal stress is, I would say do the research on it or connect with somebody in the natural health world. And one of the symptoms of, some of the symptoms of adrenal stress are you hold on to extra body weight, especially in the tummy area. Okay, I had that, bingo. Then one of the other symptoms is not being able to get through your days without being exhausted. Yep, that would be my second thing for sure. Then my inability to sleep. Well, besides the obvious of having a baby who wouldn't let me sleep, even when she would let me sleep, I was up till 2 a.m. anyways. I could not settle my mind or the things that were going on. So yes, can't sleep. And then she went through a few other things. So what I did was I started working on balancing my hormones. And then the sugar cravings, sorry, that was part of it too. The hormone imbalance is I had sweet cravings, sweet cravings are normal when you're breastfeeding because you need to keep the content of your breast milk fat to help the baby develop. But they shouldn't be so strong that you might actually kill somebody if they don't bring you a chocolate bar. So that would be a sign of your adrenal stress. And that is what I had. I had the adrenal stress. So what I did is I worked on balancing my hormones, and I'm going to get into the details of how I did that. Then through doTERRA, and my family, we worked a lot on healing some emotional health stuff. So obviously I've had a really interesting life. I've had some illnesses come up. I've lost a baby. My husband and I have had our fair share of, marital issues, some of them related to the things that we've been through, some of them just how we've emotionally developed through our marriage. But we are still in love and very strong to this very day, and we love each other more now than we did any other day before this, and it just gets stronger every day. But marriage is work, and there's a lot of emotional healing involved if you want to lose weight. Maybe one of the reasons that you're holding on to your weight has a lot to do with your emotions. So there was a bit of emotional healing involved. And then it's just lifestyle change. A lot of it is lifestyle change. So at this point, I have been able to successfully lose, I would say, 30 pounds since I gave birth to my daughter last November, so in 10 months. But I would say I've lost, well, probably a little more than 30 pounds. But I would say I've lost 23 pounds since starting my doTERRA journey. And I have not done that with any vigorous exercise program. I have not done that with any crazy dieting plan. I do not subscribe to things that are specialized shakes or, although I do use shakes, but I don't use specialized shakes through any specific program or anything. The shakes I use have everything to do with the type of protein and balance that my body needs. And what I've done is I've just tried to adopt a lifestyle, a balance, and understand what I'm going through and dip into what my needs are. And the really cool thing about what I have to share with you is that anybody who's close to me who has tried to do a lot of the same things that I have, their lives have improved too, and they've started to lose weight too. So anybody can do this. This is not, I'm not asking you to join my Facebook class to join some kind of plan. What I'm doing is I'm describing to you what my successes have been and how you can create the same successes and get your goals where you want to be. So stay in tune. There will be lots of videos. I'd like to do lots of videos so it feels like we're at least connecting and I'm talking to you. And this is probably the longest one that you're going to get. And we'll go through, and I am going to touch a little bit on doTERRA and their products because I do use them, and I really, really do believe that they are part of the reason why I'm losing weight too. But like I said, you don't have to do anything with products. You can still take lots away from this course even without doTERRA. So stay tuned, and I look forward to hearing your comments and touching base with you, okay? And so let's lose weight together and be happy. Thanks. Take care.